Hey everybody, welcome to HBCU Game Day. We got a couple of student athletes here, and of course you can tell there's a NASCAR connection because just look behind them on the wall. It says as big as they, NASCAR. We're big NASCAR fans here, so it's all good. Dylan Marshall, he's a center on the football team at Delaware State University. And man, when you talk about speed, Chardon Mucker from Prairie View A&M, I mean, that hair when she's out there running, man, it's blowing because she's fast. They are now interns in the sales department at NASCAR, establishing themselves on their professional journeys with one of the most exciting sports that there is. All right, enough from me. Ladies first. Chardon, you were a championship track athlete at Prairie View A&M. Unfortunately, had a little bit of an injury. You had to start thinking forward to your next steps in life. It ends up with an internship at NASCAR. Tell us a little bit about your journey, about how you ended up there at NASCAR.
I ended up here at NASCAR through another internship that I was actually pursuing with Position Sports in the fall semester of my last graduate year at Prairie A&M. Kind of found it just on LinkedIn, scrolling, and applied for it, and was pretty excited to apply for a job at NASCAR. I mean, who wouldn't be excited to apply for an internship here? So applied for it, and then kind of heard back from Jordan, and the rest is history. We're here now.
What was your interest or your familiarity with NASCAR at all before you started this internship?
Honestly, no real interest. I wasn't familiar at all with the sport. I've kind of heard a few things here and there about it. Upon entering and being accepted into the internship, I actually watched the Bubba Wallace documentary on Netflix, and that was very eye-opening, very enlightening, just as far as like NASCAR in general, and just learning a little bit more about the sport and its history through that documentary.
All right, Dylan, I love your story, man. You were actually ear hustling in class one day, and you overheard somebody talking about the internship, and you wanted a piece of the action, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I heard about it in class, and I jumped on it, went along with it, and saw it on Blackboard, and I went ahead and applied for it.
All right, you're a center there for Delaware State, and it just so happens Coach Milstead is your uncle, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I know he worked you extra hard in practice because there was no favorites, right?
Oh yeah, no favorite. I was treated equal just like everybody else, but I got hit with a little extra sometimes, but it's all good.
That's how it goes with family, man, all the time. Tell us about your internship. Both of you guys are in the sales department, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And Dylan, was it you? Are you tasked? One of your things is kind of maybe looking at ways to get more fans back in the stands and increase attendance at races?
Yes. So what I'm working on right now through the diversity and inclusion program. So we have a project that we have to come up with a way to engage and start getting like younger fans more involved with NASCAR. So right now we're targeting low income to like middle income, like middle aged fam, not middle aged, but like low income to like mid income type households and things. So we're looking at those and low income places to find students that would like to come out to NASCAR. So one of our goals is we're going to start having like different orientations, like just how like you remember like you was in school, the fire department will come out and tell you like what they would do. So same sort of thing with NASCAR. Have the pit crew come out, have a pit car come out, see a pit stop to have those kids start idolizing NASCAR drivers is one of the things I do. Well, that's one of the projects we're working on actually.
Chardon, what are you tackling? How much fun are you having right now in NASCAR?
I'm actually having a blast. I'm actually working on a similar project here with the internship. We are targeting event engagement. So my group has basically come up with an idea of pop-up shops or pop-up events that NASCAR can put into place, similar like Dylan's actually, but instead of at schools, it'll be kind of like at sponsored NASCAR locations like dealerships or FedEx locations or things like that to get the communities more engaged with the racing in NASCAR in general.
So both you guys, being students, student athletes at HBCUs, you understand like the vibe and what a pop-up experience can be like because of everything that you guys have seen in school that people see at HBCUs, you know, no matter if you're SWAC or MEAC or CIAA or SIAC or whatever. What type of experiences have either of you been able to lean on or draw from your HBCU experience to carry over into what's now your budding professional careers with NASCAR?
I think in the world of sales, just being an athlete, it kind of like translate perfectly because you have to be competitive. You have to be able to keep up with everyone else. You have to, in my case, I'm in a group of 20 people. So I have to do things to kind of like make myself stand out and kind of be different in the sales academy here at NASCAR. So I feel like as an athlete, I kind of brought that along with me here. Pretty much nothing has changed. I have that same mentality as an athlete, as a go-getter, as a hustler, to come out and work hard every day and just try to excel as much as I can here at NASCAR.
Kind of piggyback on like what Chardon said, like me, I come to work every day with a 1-0 mentality. I gotta win the day every day. And also just like communicating with different people, just trying to build a team around myself to help me build myself in NASCAR and also professionally. Like just building your network has helped me a lot, just being here.
And Dylan, as a center on the football team, like that's the position on the line that has to communicate the most because you're walking up to the line of scrimmage. You got to tell everybody what you're seeing. You got to relay that information back to your team. So communication is a natural thing for you, right?
Exactly. Communicating, especially on the football field. I got to look at that safety to the linebackers all the way down. Same thing here. I got to communicate with my boss, to the other team members in other locations, and also to my team here as well.
You know, NASCAR has really done a great job with diversity. I remember going out to the pit crew combines a few years ago when they started up, and Brandon Thompson, I know you guys have probably worked with and know Brandon very well. He was instrumental with those, and you started to see some of those, you know, former student athletes make their way into professional racing as part of pit crew members. And now we got drivers at my alma mater. We got a current student at Winston-Salem State, Rajah Caruth, who's working his way up through and really doing some great things. What would you guys say from your experience to maybe other HBCU kids out there who maybe not be so familiar with NASCAR or maybe think, I don't know if that's for me? What would you parlay about your experience to the other people that might want to follow in your footsteps?
I would just say if the opportunity presents itself, just to take it. You never know who you may connect with here and who you may meet here that can be a big part of your future. So I would just say, even if you're not a minority or majority in the room, you can still make a difference here.
For me, I would say like my experience was just because of my size. They walking around the pit crew guys looking at me like, oh, have you looked into the driver diversity pit crew? Like, you know, man, we need you out here. And like seeing guys that look like me was very like refreshing and things like that. So that made me want to come out and like share my experience. Like I even share with my teammates, like, hey guys, like even though y'all want to go to the NFL, but if you look at the NASCAR perspective, you're still a professional athlete. It's just in a different format, different sport.
You know, Dylan, I could see you behind the jack, man, or maybe carrying some tires. I think you can manage that.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, I done talked to Rocco, the guy that runs the program and like helps recruiting. He said, man, you might be a gas man or a jack man, you know, just looking at your size. So that's one big thing I'm also looking into as well.
Chardon, where do you see yourself? Like you know, a couple of years down the road, you know, do you feel like this is something that you can like really carve out like a permanent position and something to be long-standing for you here?
Definitely. I think my time in sales is just the beginning of my time here at NASCAR. Speaking to a lot of the individuals who are in higher level positions here at NASCAR, they all started somewhere and they kind of moved around, seeing different areas of NASCAR, and then that led them into higher positions. So I can definitely see myself as maybe a president of a track one day, or just a top leader here at NASCAR.
Chardon, have you been to a race in person yet?
I actually went to the Coca-Cola 600 maybe a month ago now. It was amazing. We had like what is it, pit passes or
Pit passes, all access
infield
passes.
experience. It was great. So that was my first race. I would definitely encourage everybody to at least experience one NASCAR race in their lifetime.
What stood out the most to you? I remember 8,000 years ago going to my first race, and I just remember like the smell of gas and rubber. It was like you couldn't get that sense on TV. It just like attacked you from all of your senses. You could really feel the experience. What stood out to you the most after having maybe seen it on TV and then being there in person?
For me, it was just kind of like the noise, the lights, and just being there in all the action. Like, it was one race, well, one crash towards the end of the race, and everybody almost jumped out of their seats because the car flipped a few times. And that was just kind of like, okay, this is where the excitement is at. Like, this is kind of a pretty exciting thing to watch in person.
Dylan, I've heard your uncle mention the Dover race before as, one of the busy weekends when there's, football season and the racing at Dover. Has your uncle leaned on you for tickets yet?
Honestly, funny thing is, he went to a race last year in Dover 400. And because it got rained out this year. So he was like, I already got my tickets for next year. So I'm good, nephew, you good. But he said, maybe Richmond, but Richmond's around the time we're camping. So every time he asked me for tickets, I got a rebuttal for him. I'm like, hey man, it's football season now, once August hits. So maybe next year we can try it again.
You could have got out of some running, man. Come through with some tickets. He might have saved you on conditioning a little bit.
Ain't no cut cards with him. There's no cut cards. I get it every time. I get it at Thanksgiving. I get it at Christmas. 24/7 is football with me, him and I.
Wow. Dylan, we'll leave off with you since we started with Chardon, man. Where do you see yourself? Look, you've been recruited to be the gas man. You're carving out a career in sales. Where do you think your journey will take you years down the road?
Like I said, it's wherever God takes me. So NASCAR, I love NASCAR. I love the experience I'm having so far. I get up and come to work, and I'm excited to come to work. Just coming to work, meeting new people, and building my network. So, like I said, it's whatever God takes me. If it takes me here or brings me somewhere else in the sports industry, that's His plan for me.
All right, he's Dylan Marshall, Delaware State University. Chardon Merker, Prairie View A&M. How about those Panthers? Guys, thanks a lot for joining us here at HBCU Game Day. All the best, and as we continue to follow Raja around as he makes his way up, hopefully we'll bump into you at a race or two down the line.
Definitely.